Good day, everyone. This is Sheena Abad, and I'll discuss to you Psychosocial Theory of Development by Erikson. So, to recap, Erikson was considered as one of the psychodynamic theories. So, psychodynamic theories, if you can still remember, focuses on the different factors that affects the behavior of a person. But Erikson focuses on psychosocial factors. So, Erikson, biography. He was born in Germany on July 15, 1902 and died May 12, 1994. He was an abandoned child by a Danish father, and he was raised alone by his mother, Carla Abrahamsen, a young Jewish woman. And later, his mother married Theodor Humberger, his pediatrician. The fact that he was an abandoned child bothered him a lot. He was also a dropout of high school and spent time traveling in Europe and studying art. Erich Humberger Erikson. He viewed man as optimistic and idealistic individuals. His theory focuses on social rather than biological factors, of which it is known as psychosocial theory. So psychosocial focuses on affective, cognition, and social factors affecting personality. Rather. His theory opposed Freud's psychosexual stages as human interaction between genes and the environment. So Freud really focuses his study on biological factors, biological drives, or sexual drives. But Erikson considered it very shallow since there are other things for him that contributes to an individual's personality, such as the way he or she interacts with his or her environment. So to continue, Erikson met Sigmund Freud and later studied psychoanalysis with Freud's daughter Anna. He studied young people, of which he is very interested, especially on their cultures. His theory again focuses on psychosocial, which discuss personal, emotional, and social factors affecting individuals' personality. And Erikson is an ego analyst, which refers to a relationship between individual and the world, or the self and the world. So remember the person in environment situation uh, in social work, the pie perspective. The person relates with his or her environment that constitutes his or her personality. So he completed his training at the time Hitler came to power. To escape the tension in Europe, he went to the United States. Erikson's work is based on 5 assumptions. So, first assumption is that people in general have the same basic needs. So he generalizes people's needs. So every one of us, regardless of our status, we all have the same need according to Erikson. Second assumption is that personal development occurs in response to these needs. So our personal development, like our uh, our desire for achievement, responses to these different basic needs that we have. Third is development proceeds in stages. So for Erikson, since it he considered development as stages, you cannot proceed to another stage unless you satisfy the first stage or you overcome different struggles in the first stage. Movement through the stages reflects changes in an individual's motivation. So as you grow higher to the stages that was formulated by Erikson, he believes that you also have different motivations. Say, for example, when you were a child, you have different motivations. Others wanted to grow, to work, to help their families. And when you grow old or when you have a job, you have different or you have another motivation, such as you want to have an intimate relationship, you want to help others, and so on and so forth. So that is the assumption of Erikson. And the last, each stage is characterized by psychosocial challenge that presents opportunities for development. So those are the different assumptions of Erikson's psychosocial development theory. Another thing, Erikson described the time an individual experiences a psychological challenge, a crisis. So for Erikson, uh, the struggles of the different stages that a person experiences is called a crisis. Okay, a positive solution of a crisis means a favorable ratio of positive to negative psychosocial traits emerges. A negative resolution results in individuals seeing the world as unpredictable and threatening. So for Erikson, if the person cannot overcome the crisis, the person will feel that the world it is unsafe to live in. Okay. This does not mean that people who successfully resolve the crisis never have negative thoughts or distrust another person. In general, they see the best in others and have a positive orientation towards life. So for Erikson, people, even if they overcome the crisis or the challenges in each stage, it doesn't mean that they don't have negative thoughts. They have probably, but they considered it as a challenge to move forward and look at the best side of themselves and the good thing about people. So that's how he viewed negative perspective or thoughts among people. So let us move forward to these stages. First is the infancy stage, where it approximately starts from birth to 2 years old. Um, the the discussion or the the basic discussion here is trust versus mistrust, or the highlights of this stage. The first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosexual development occurs between, again, birth and 1 year old, and the most fundamental stage in life, the most important stage in life. Because an infant is utterly dependent, the development of trust is based on dependability and quality of the child's caregiver. So, because the child is again very dependent, and dependable to his or her caregivers, the caregivers or the parents in particular the um, have the strong responsibility over the child's development, physically, emotionally, and other aspects of child's development. Second, if a child successfully develops trust, he or she will feel safe and secure in the world. Caregivers who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or rejecting contribute to the feelings of mistrust in children they care for. Failure to develop trust will result in fear and a belief that the world is inconsistent and unpredictable. So, in here, again, if the child feels secure from the caregivers, he or she will develop more his or her self-esteem or self-confidence. While on the contrary, if the child develops mistrust, he or she sees the world as unpredictable or violent. So in here, this stage considers self-direction and independent stage. Second stage is early childhood, from approximately 1.5 to 3 years old. Here, autonomy versus shame and doubt is uh, the very virtue of this stage. So, it secures or securely attached children next face the challenge of autonomy or doing things on their own. So the child in here wanted to become independent on little things that he or she can do. So first the child learns to feed and dress themselves or having a toilet training. So in here, the child would say, I want this dress, I want to wear this, I want to eat this. This is this stage. The second is the key challenges that child faces during this stage relates to exerting independence. So independence is really the highlight of this period or stage. Like Freud, Erikson believed that toilet training was a vital part of this process. However, Erikson's reasoning was quite different than that of Freud's. Erikson believed that learning to control one's body functions leads to a feeling of control and a sense of independence. So, uh, he agrees with Freud that toilet training is very much necessary in this stage, but however, bodily movements or bodily functions is a manifestation of a feeling of control and a sense of an individual's independence. Another thing is that other important events including gaining more control over food choices, toy preferences, and clothing selection. Next, children who successfully complete this stage feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. So, again, if the child is successful in this stage, he feels or she feels having independence, meaning he or she gains security and confidence. While, on the other hand, the child feels inadequacy and self-doubt, no, or inferior when independence or autonomy was not or is not developed. Next stage is the preschool stage, 3 to 5 years old. Initiative versus guilt. Initiative is characterized by an exploratory and investigative attitude that results from meeting and accepting challenges. So, first, preschool children encounter a widening social world and a lot more challenges. In here, the child, if you are familiar with separation anxiety, this is very common since the child is starting to make new friends, and starting to go to school. Children are asked to assume responsibility for their bodies, their behavior, their toys, and their pets. So, if you have noticed, other parents would tell when the child goes to school, oh, please take care of your things, your school things, like your paper, your pencil. So the child assumes responsibility over their things. Children make enormous cognitive leaps, and those developing abilities provide the impetus for exploration in all areas of their lives. So in here, the child would always ask why, how, bakit nagaganito ang mga bagay-bagay. So they are very curious in this stage, especially that they are into formal schooling. Children who are given the freedom to explore and experiment with adults to answer their questions tend to develop initiative. So this is very crucial. Those who are restricted and whose initiative is considered to be a problem tend to develop a sense of guilt about pursuing their interest. So in here, if the child is restricted for for exploring things, he or she might have troubles in terms of building initiative. Children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. So, according to Erikson, people who have strong, initiative, or high initiative rather, develops the leadership qualities. Those who fail to acquire these skills are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. Another, okay, so in here, elementary school, learning skills or mastering within self stage, and Oedipal or electrocomplex or complexes are present. The next stage is the school age stage, 6 to 11 years old. Where industry and inferiority takes place. Industry is the enjoyment of mastery and competence through success and recognition of one's accomplishments. In here, the child really, focuses his or her attention to uh, recognitions, and accomplishments at school, involving to new things, mastering new things, and new skills. This stage covers the early school years from about approximately age 5 to 11 years old. Through social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments and abilities. So if they are recognized, they feel an overwhelming confidence and self-satisfaction. Children who are encouraged and commended by their parents and teachers develop a feeling of competence and belief in their skills. Those who receive little or no encouragement from parents, teachers, or peers will doubt their ability to be successful. So in here, the child, according to Erikson, probably develops self doubt or strong inferiority since they are not recognized of their efforts. Another stage is the adolescent stage where it lies approximately 12 to 18 years old. In here, identity versus confusion is evident. In the adolescent years, youth develop a desire for independence from parents, achieve physical maturity, and are concerned with the question, who am I? Okay, so physical maturity, puberty stage. First is that adolescents experience major physical, intellectual, and emotional changes. Many go through growth spurts and their coordination often doesn't keep up with their bodies. Adolescents experience new sexual feelings and are not quite know how to respond. They are frequently confused of their emotions, no? Nagkaka-crush, sabi nila nagkakapapapilag. So, this is the stage of adolescence. They are caught in awkward position of wanting to assert their independence yet longing for stability of structure and discipline. So in here, according to Erikson, the child or an adolescent wanted to explore, but he or she is restricted because he or she cannot don't have stability, no? Wala pang trabaho. So may marami pang restrictions. Those who receive proper encouragement and reinforcement through personal exploration will emerge from this stage with a strong sense of self and a feeling of independence and control. Those who remain unsure of their beliefs and desires will be insecure and focus about themselves in the future. So, in here, pag hindi mo na-overcome yung crisis, you are, or, yeah, you will feel confusions and insecurities as you grow old. Another thing in the identity versus confusion stage, this is the youth age fear of being rejected stage. Okay. Another stage developed by Erikson is the young adulthood stage, approximately 19 to 40 years old, where intimacy versus isolation takes place. First is that a person with a firm sense of identity is prepared for intimacy or giving the self over to another. So meaning looking for a partner, looking for stability. Okay. This stage covers the period of early adulthood when people are faced with developmental tasks of forming intimate relationships. So probably in this stage, the person has a stable job and looking forward to creating or procreating, no? Looking forward to becoming a parent or looking for a partner. Giving for the sake of giving without expecting something in return characterizes a positive resolution of this crisis. Erikson believed that it was vital that people develop close, committed relationship with other people. Those who are successful at this step or stage will develop relationships that are committed and secure. Remember that each step builds on skills learned in previous steps. So more on skills focus, the previous stages in the early childhood, the preschool stage, and so on and so forth. Erikson, in here, believed that a strong sense of personal identity was important to developing intimate relationships. So, kung na-build ka na sa first stages ng development on skill development, sabi ni Erikson na ah, meron kang strong sense of personal identity at walang pag-aalinlangan for an intimate relationship. Studies have demonstrated that those with poor sense of self tend to have less committed relationships. So, ito yon. Ang tao ay magiging, no, sinasabi nilang, no, yung hindi committed, no, ah, sa isang relationship, dito yon. Kung hindi daw siya sa first stages ng kanyang child's development, hindi na-build yung kanyang personal identity. So, maghahanap siya ng relasyon. Hindi siya magiging content. And more likely to suffer emotional isolation, loneliness, and depression. So, to continue, intimacy in relationship stage. Last is the generativity versus stagnation. No, second to the last. Generativity versus stagnation. Middle adulthood, 40 to 65 years old. The key characteristics of generativity are creativity, productivity, and concern for and commitment to guiding the next generation. So, ito yung returning backstage. During adulthood, we continue to build our lives, focusing on career and family. Generative adults tried to contribute to the betterment of society by working for principles such as cleaning physically the environment, a safe and drug-free social world, and adherence to the principles of freedom and dignity for individuals. So ito yung naka-build ka na ng career, naka-build ka na ng family, you are now stable, and you try in this stage, you are trying to be productive in terms of giving back, uh, by helping others, by indulging into advocacies, na stage. Those who are successful during this phase or stage will feel that they are contributing to the world by being active in their home and community. Those who fail to attain this skill will feel unproductive and involved in the world. They are characterized by apathy, self-doubt, pseudo-intimacy, or self-absorption. Okay. The generativity versus stagnation stage is also known as passing experience to the next generation, lost self-concern stage. Okay, and the last is integrity versus despair, or the old age. As you can see, it is here, this is the retirement stage, for those who are working, so ages 65 to death. Okay. In here, people who accept themselves conclude that they only have one life to live. Live it as well as possible and have few regrets and are seen as having integrity. So, you only live once. Ito yung mga stages na gusto na nilang uh, mag-tour around the world, kumain ng mga gusto nilang kainin, and so on. This phase occurs during old age and is focused on reflecting back on life. So, more on, ano ba yung nagawa kong mabuti, pagkakamali, uh, how were, how did I overcome those challenges and celebrates those achievements or triumphs, in life. Those who are unsuccessful during this phase will feel that their life has been wasted and will experience many regrets. So, bitter sa life. The individual will be left with feelings of bitterness and despair. Those who feel proud of their accomplishment will feel a sense of integrity. Proud sila sa kanilang sarili, sa kanilang contribution to the world. Successfully completing this phase means looking back with few regrets and a general feeling of satisfaction. These individuals will attain wisdom even when confronting death. So, they accept responsibility for the way they have lived and accept finality of death. So integrity versus despair is characterized with wisdom or as wisdom stage. Okay. That is all. That is the discussion for the psychosocial development stage of Erikson. Have a great day.